emotional,
No,
then I don't
fine.
have to be the first one to cry here, because I know I will.
It's a mom thing.
My husband Randall could not be here today, but we decided that his story needs to be told. So he's the kind of guy that, he's a tough guy. He doesn't need a doctor. And he always would say, you go to a doctor, they tell you you need blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine, and before you know it, you have cancer. So I'm not going. And in 2009, he got his finger slammed in the door and ended up in the ER having to have stitches. And the doctor said, your blood pressure is really higher than it ought to be. Go get that checked. So our daughter convinced him to go in and have his blood pressure checked. And of course, they gave him medicine for his blood pressure and cholesterol. And a week later, they told him he has CLL, which chronic lymphocytic leukemia. Totally hit us out of the blue. And the first words out of his mouth was, well, what happens with that? And the doctor said, eventually it will kill you. And we said, okay, we'll absorb that. And we went to see an oncologist, and she said, you guys are really lucky. You caught this early, stage 0. You're looking at 10 to 15 years where we sit and watch this. And we said, well, should we get treatment now? And she said, no. In 10 to 15 years, treatment is going to be light years ahead of where it is now. So let's wait, and we'll just watch it. So we went and lived in this really happy oblivion and pretended like it didn't exist, which was a really nice period of time for us. And we made out a bucket list. He had 2 items on his bucket list, and one was to see the Smithsonian, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the other one was to putter in his yard till he dies. And so a few weeks after that, we kind of stumbled upon our dream house on 5 bare acres, and he has 5 acres to putter in till he dies. And my sister at the time was doing an event with Team in Training. She said, you have got to meet these people. And I'm like, we're good. We don't need patient services, we're emotionally fine, life's busy, we're good. So I kind of put it aside. And then in it was this year, she was doing another event and said, really, you got to come and join me. And I'm like, okay, I need to get in shape. I'll go join Team in Training. And came to, the information meetings and got signed up and all of that. And Dan knows how I feel about him. One of our first mission moments, Dan spoke, and he said something that I will never forget. He said, the treatment to save my life was not even available when I was diagnosed. And it hit me like a bullet. I said, we have hope. There is hope out there that we didn't even know we were missing. This doesn't have to kill him. We have some hope. So, spent the season training. June 5th, Kim and I ran 26.2 very long miles together. But Kim was awesome. And the whole entire event, she was saying, this day is going to be over before we know it. We need to make the best of this and have the most fun ever. And so we did. We had the best day ever. And I came back on this runner's high, just loving what we had done and pushing yourself beyond what you thought you could do and all of that. And while I was still on that runner's high, I opened a piece of mail, which was some blood work from my husband's doctor, and I'm a nurse, so I started going through the blood work and realized he has a very rare form of leukemia. Average life expectancy is 32 months from diagnosis. And he passed that mark on October 5th of this year.
Yay.
So we're like, yay, he passed that mark, but now what? So we made an appointment with our oncologist, and he said, you need treatment urgently. And we said, okay, what? And he said, I don't know. And that was a really hard place to be. Really, really hard place to be. And so I'm a nurse, and I do research. And I said, okay, we dive in and we do research. And you guys have probably heard Dan say before that cancer news doesn't make the headlines very often. Well, if you were paying attention, in July, there was a huge cancer breakthrough that was released. They did 3 leukemia patients, and in the science world, 3 patients is an anomaly. It's not really a study. But there were these doctors had this great idea, and they wanted to try it, but they couldn't find funding. And a private family stepped up and said, well, we have some money. We want to go to cancer research. Here's some money. We said, that's great, but it's not enough. Guess who stepped up? LLS said, here, let's give you guys some money and do this treatment. And they tried this new experimental treatment and tried it on 3 patients. A year later, 2 of those patients are 100% cancer-free.
Wow.
The 3rd patient is in remission, and they know why that 3rd patient didn't have the same response that the others had. One of the lead investigators was this Dr. David Porter. We went last week to the Smithsonian for our bucket list, and we were able to meet with Dr. Porter while we were there.
Wow.
So we did not get into their next study that we were hoping to get into. But he said, if we can get you some treatment and buy you some time, you're going to see leukemia dumped on its ass in a few years. And we said, yay, we're ready for that. We're ready for that. So we're looking at possibly doing a stem cell transplant this spring. But you guys are saving lives. And we, you guys gave us hope that we didn't have, and you continue to give us hope that we didn't have, that we are so happy to be part of Team in Training. We would not make it through this without you guys, and I can't thank you enough. And besides all of that, you guys are my therapies. I could not go through all the